The Day Before has solidified itself as one of the worst reviewed games of all time, so much so that the studio FNTASTIC closed down just days after the game's release. In this video, we'll be discussing just what the hell happened to this game and why it's such a piece of hot garbage. How did this all start? The Day Before was supposed to be an open-world MMO post-apocalyptic zombie survival game. About 2 years ago, FNTASTIC, the studio responsible for this game, released a gameplay announcement trailer which showcased what the game should have looked like and how it should have played. So they tried to do it similar to how Ubisoft did The Division back in the day, trying to be super immersive with proximity chat, like the two players talking back and forth to each other. And now this would be really cool if there's actually anyone in the damn game. But this became one of the biggest points of controversy even before the game came out. If you look at some side-by-side comparisons, it looked eerily similar to a lot of the early footage of The Division. It showed other things like ray trace assets and visuals, some random world occurrences, and proximity chat as I mentioned earlier, and a lot more. You could hear a radio from survivors trying to reach out to you, and then that would start a mission related to that, completely randomly. Random firefights would break out between other players as they fight each other for the limited resources left in this world. There's even a weather system that would affect your character and change the way you approach firefights. There were also literal hordes of zombies that would chase you around basically anywhere you went. The game even shifted to Unreal Engine 5, so of course the hype for this game was completely out of this world. But as anything with this sheer amount of hype, it can never live up to these expectations. So what happened? Basically, there's none of these things that were promised in the trailers and gameplay showcases. The game was completely empty, there weren't many players to team up with, and just as few zombies to kill. The animations were horrible. The game honestly looked like it was in alpha alongside a ton of bugs and server issues. There was one bug specifically where one of the characters just became a giant head for no reason at all. The AI was absolutely awful. The zombies had this weird lag thing when they were shot, and they basically had one animation total. It looked like it was impossible for this game to be in development for the 5 years that FNTASTIC claimed it was. And I know you're thinking, "They're noobs, I'm sure they feel bad, you know. They worked on this game for 5 years, right? Maybe you're being hard on them." I could be. But what did they say in response to all this? Shit happens. I mean, this is a very real answer, and I somewhat respect them for that. But come on, like, take some more accountability, you know? Like, if this was a free-to-play game, and people got to play it, and then realized it was shit, that's a different story. But they charged full price for this piece of garbage. And they came out with it early access, they came out with an unfinished game, and they came out with a game that was barely playable at all. But also, in their defense, I'm not totally heartless. The devs did promise that they'll be working to issue refunds, but like, duh, this isn't something that we should commend them for. This is something that should be common knowledge that you do after you completely shit the bed. So now tragedy implies an unfortunate circumstance in some way, right? But nah, this was 100% FNTASTIC's fault in every way, shape, or form. About 4 days after the early access launch, FNTASTIC shut down the studio, as I mentioned earlier, amid the buggy launch, the server issues, and the completely awful reviews that they got. Notably, IGN giving them a 1 out of 10 and also overwhelmingly negative reviews on Steam. Despite promising a huge update that would fix a lot of the issues that plagued them at launch, they didn't show up. And this is just something to start a conversation about. Like, devs, can you please stop hyping your game to the moon and back just to shoot up your sales and then completely shit the bed? Like, honestly, this is ridiculous and we've seen it too many times before. Every single gamer YouTube or any YouTuber of the like completely cooked this game, they lit it up as they should. And this brings me to just some final points. I really do think that as a whole, game development studios need to shift their focus from being money hungry to kind of more player and gamer focused. I'm sure a lot of these developers are gamers. They're gamers at heart. There's a reason why they wanted to get into game development. And I'm not blaming the devs per se. There's obviously a larger conglomerate corporate politics involved in this. And of course, games need to break even. There's costs associated with it. You have to pay everyone. You have to pay for marketing. There's a whole bunch of costs associated with this, and you have to at least break even. When you make a game that is for the players will buy, and they will happily spread the game and spread how good your game is if it's a good game, because you made it for them. You're not making it to make a quick buck, you know what I mean? And in the end, that will pay off tenfold what you would have made just by trying to appease a due date that corporate set for you, and you come out with a terrible game and then you have to close down your studio. I honestly think if we make this shift in an ideal world, we'll have better games. It's a win-win for everyone. Players will buy your games and studios will make more games that players like. But anyway, I didn't get to play this piece of garbage, so I'm not really too sad about it. I do feel bad for all the people that had hopes for this game because I love the idea. I think the premise is great. I think that another studio should pick up this idea and just make it because it would be a lot of fun. But anyway, thanks for watching, guys, and I will see you all in the next one. Peace.